So we want to finish up week 9. I only had 2 more examples here for you. And then of course, there are all the questions that I've given you to practice for this section. So let's finish up with this equation. Remember that we're trying to get rid of the denominator in order to solve for n, or m rather. If you want to pause your video and give this a try, please do so. We know we need to find the lowest common multiple of the denominators. So the first thing we're going to need to do is factor all of the denominators. Sorry, it's a little bit squishy over here. So the lowest common multiple of our denominators. This expression needs m and m minus 3. This expression needs m, we have it. It needs m plus 5. And m minus 3 we have. This expression needs m plus 5, we have it, and m minus 3, we have it already. So my suggestion, as always, is to multiply both sides by the lowest common multiple. Now I don't quite have room here, so let me just say that I'm multiplying by the lowest common multiple, m, m minus 3, and m plus 5. I'll write it out in full for the next step. Why don't you do so as well? Pause your video and get it all written down. Now, I don't think you necessarily always have to write out this step, but when you're just learning, it's very helpful to see this. I have the lowest common multiple multiplying every term in this equation. But by doing that, it allows me to get rid of the denominators in one step. Here I have m and m minus 3. Oops, that should be a 3 there. So that means here I can divide out m and m minus 3. Here, the entire denominator divides out the entire lowest common multiple. And here, m plus 5 and m minus 3 divide out. So we did a lot of writing in this step, but it leaves us with a very simple equation. We're left with m plus 5 times m minus 1 plus 3 equals m times m plus 2. Why don't you pause your video at this point and see if you can finish solving this equation. We would want to multiply these binomials first. Open the brackets on the right. And now we have a quadratic equation. Again, we remember that we want to solve this by factoring. So that means we need it to equal 0. Well, I see right away that m squared subtract m squared leaves me no m squareds. So now we don't have a quadratic equation. I can subtract 2m from both sides, add 2 to both sides, divide by 2 on both sides, And we see that m equals 1. Remember, you need to check your restrictions because we have m in the denominator. So when I look at my factors, these are all of the factors containing m in the denominator. So we see that m cannot equal 0. M cannot equal -5. And m cannot equal 3. M equals 1. It doesn't equal 0, -5, or 3. So this is our solution. Here's another question to try. I'm going to move this so I have a bit more room. Why don't you pause your video and give it a try? So we've factored all of the denominators, and we see that the lowest common multiple is m-3 times m-1. We're going to multiply both sides of the equation by our lowest common multiple. If you haven't done the next step, pause your video and see if you can do so. So you can see we're multiplying each term by the lowest common multiple. I just want to point out this minus sign. Make sure that you keep your addition or subtraction sign correctly. And then we can divide m-3. We can divide out m-1. And we can divide out the entire lowest common multiple there. Again, if you haven't finished the question from this point, pause your video and give it a try. So here we have 1 times m-1 minus m-3 times m-2 equals 1. That subtraction is what's making this question, I think, a little bit more difficult. We're going to need to be careful, remembering that we are subtracting all of this product. So this time, we do have a quadratic equation. And I don't like m squared to be negative. I prefer if it's a positive m squared. It just makes it easier for me to think about. I know that this equation has to equal 0. So the first thing I'm going to do is simplify the left, combine my like terms. So m plus 5m, -1 minus 6. And now I'm going to make it equal 0 on the left. I'm going to add m squared to both sides. I'm going to subtract 6m. I'm going to add 7. Now that it equals 0, I can factor. And using the zero factor theorem, we see that each factor could equal 0. Two possible solutions. We don't know their solutions for sure until we check our restrictions. So if we go back to our denominators, the factors we need to look at, oops, There we go. M minus 3 and M minus 1. Remember, it's just the denominator that cannot equal 0. M doesn't equal 3 or 1, so we have 2 solutions. I've given a lot of practice questions here at the end of these notes. The solutions are posted on the class Moodle page. If you have difficulty with any of these questions, these are good ones to bring to the Tuesday, Thursday sessions when I'm available for you to ask for help. We have an exam not that far away, about a month away. I would suggest you start practicing for it. You can use these questions to do so.